What if I told you that right now, today, there are government files sitting in locked archives that nobody is allowed to read? That there are planes that vanished into thin air with hundreds of people on board, and we still, after years of searching, have absolutely no idea what happened to them? That there were coded messages sent decades ago that the world's best cryptographers, the CIA, and even AI systems have failed to crack? My name is Red, and I've spent a long time going down rabbit holes so deep, most people never come back out. Today, I'm bringing you with me. These are not ancient myths. These are not fairy tales. Every single mystery on this list happened within the last 100 years. Some happened within your lifetime. And the terrifying part? None of them have been solved. Stay with me until number 1, because that one genuinely kept me up at night. 10 mysteries. 10 stories that history couldn't close. Let's get into it.
Let's start somewhere unexpected. A bridge in the Scottish Highlands that has for over 50 years driven dogs to leap off it to their deaths. Overtoun Bridge near Dumbarton, Scotland. Beautiful stone arch, quiet countryside. And since the 1950s, over 300 dogs have jumped from the exact same spot on this bridge, often between the same two parapets on the right-hand side. Many of them died on the rocks 60 feet below. Some survived, climbed back up, and jumped again. It's not a hoax. It's been reported by veterinarians, investigated by animal behaviorists, and covered by the BBC. Dogs across all different breeds, in all different weather conditions, with completely different owners, all pulled toward the same spot. The leading theory? Mink in marten urine in the undergrowth below, creating a scent so overwhelming that dogs lose their spatial awareness and launch themselves over the edge, chasing it. But that doesn't explain why it's always the same spot. That doesn't explain the dogs who survived and went back for a second attempt. Nobody has a clean answer, and dogs are still jumping.
Animals leaping to their deaths with no explanation? Dark, but at least there's no human intent behind it. The next one, someone made sure there would be no answers. They cut every label from their clothing, hid a coded message inside a secret pocket, and then died without a trace.
December 1st, 1948. A man is found dead on Somerton Beach, Adelaide, Australia. No ID, no wallet, no cause of death. The labels on every single piece of his clothing had been carefully cut out. Police searched him and found nothing, until they found a tiny, tightly rolled scrap of paper hidden inside a secret pocket sewn into the waistband of his trousers. On it, 2 words in Persian, "Tamam shud," meaning, "it is ended." The scrap was torn from a rare edition of a poetry book called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Police found the book, discarded in a car nearby, and in the back of it, a phone number and a code. 4 lines of random letters, no language, no known cipher. Cryptographers from around the world have worked on it for over 70 years. The CIA examined it. Modern AI has been applied to it. It has never been decoded. The man was never identified. His body was never determined. His body was exhumed in 2021 for DNA testing, and while scientists believe they may be close to identifying him, the code remains unbroken. The message he died with remains unread.
A dead man with an unbreakable code. No name, no cause of death, no answers. But at least he was alone. The next mystery took 9 people, all at once, and left investigators so baffled they literally wrote "unknown compelling force" as the official cause of death.
9 experienced Soviet hikers set off into the Ural Mountains in January 1959. They were skilled, they were prepared, they never came back. When rescuers found their camp weeks later, the tent had been sliced open from the inside. The hikers had fled into minus 30-degree cold in their socks. Some were found with their eyes missing. One was missing her tongue. Several had internal injuries so severe, broken ribs, fractured skulls, that investigators said the force required was comparable to a car crash, but there was no external trauma, no bruising on the skin. Soviet authorities closed the investigation and declared the cause of death an unknown compelling force. In 2019, Russia officially reopened the case and concluded it was an avalanche. But here's the thing, the campsite was on a slope that avalanche experts say shouldn't have avalanched. The bodies were found in a pattern that doesn't match an avalanche, and none of the survivors, because there were no survivors, were ever able to tell us what they saw that made 9 experienced hikers run screaming into a frozen forest in the middle of the night.
9 people, no survivors, no explanation. The mountain won. But here's the thing, the next person wanted to disappear. He planned it, executed it perfectly, and walked away with $200,000. And in 50 years, nobody has found a single trace of him.
On November 24, 1971, a man using the name Dan Cooper boarded a Northwest Orient flight from Portland to Seattle. He was calm, well-dressed. He ordered a bourbon and soda, and then passed a note to the flight attendant. It said he had a bomb. He demanded $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The FBI complied. The plane landed, the passengers were released, and then Cooper strapped on a parachute, grabbed the money, and jumped out of the back of the plane somewhere over the forests of Washington state. In a rainstorm, at night, with no idea where he was. He was never found. No body, no parachute. In 1980, a small bundle of decayed $20 bills matching the ransom serial numbers was found on a riverbank, but that's it. One partial bundle. In 53 years of investigation, the FBI has interviewed over 1,000 suspects. They officially suspended the case in 2016 without ever naming a confirmed suspect. D.B. Cooper is the only unsolved case of air piracy in American aviation history.
One man vanishes by choice and becomes a legend. The next story is darker, because the people who did it didn't vanish. They went on international television, looked the world in the eye, and lied. And they got away with it.
On the 4th of March 2018, a 66-year-old retired Russian spy named Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia sat down for lunch in Salisbury, England. A quiet Sunday, a small English city. Nothing unusual. Hours later, they were found unconscious on a park bench, foaming at the mouth, in critical condition. The poison was Novichok, a nerve agent so lethal it was developed by the Soviet military specifically to defeat NATO protective equipment. Exposure to even a microscopic amount can kill within minutes. Sergei and Yulia survived, but barely. A British detective who responded to the scene was also poisoned and spent weeks in hospital. Then it got worse. 3 months later, a local woman named Dawn Sturgis found a perfume bottle discarded nearby. She sprayed it on her wrist. She died within 2 weeks. An ordinary woman killed by a weapon of war because someone threw it away like trash.
British intelligence identified 2 suspects almost immediately, Russian nationals traveling under the names Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Bosharov. They appeared on Russian television and claimed, with straight faces, that they had visited Salisbury as tourists to see its famous cathedral. Salisbury's cathedral. Twice. In one weekend, in early March. Investigative outlet Bellingcat later identified them as officers of the GRU, Russian military intelligence. Russia denied everything. No extradition was ever granted. No one has ever faced trial. And here's the part that never gets enough attention. The Novichok had to come from somewhere. It had to be transported, stored, and deployed on British soil. The full chain of how a Soviet-era nerve agent ended up in a perfume bottle in an English city has never been publicly accounted for. The operation behind the operation remains officially unexplained. Dawn Sturgis is still dead, and nobody has been held accountable.
Between 1968 and 1969, a serial killer operating in Northern California murdered at least 5 people, possibly many more. He taunted police by sending letters to newspapers. He called himself the Zodiac. The letters contained ciphers, encrypted messages that the Zodiac claimed revealed his identity. He sent 4, 3 remained unsolved for decades. 1, the 340-character cipher, stumped the FBI, NSA, and amateur codebreakers for 51 years, until December 2020, when a team of 3 private citizens cracked it using computing analysis. The decoded message? A taunting, rambling statement about collecting slaves in the afterlife. It didn't reveal his name. The 4th cipher has still never been decoded. The Zodiac was never caught. Despite being one of the most investigated cold cases in American history, with dozens of suspects, no one has ever been conclusively identified. The case is still officially open.
A killer who encrypted his identity and was never caught. At least we knew he existed. The next mystery doesn't even give us that. 239 people, a commercial airliner, and after the most expensive search in aviation history, almost nothing. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur, bound for Beijing, with 239 people on board. 40 minutes into the flight, someone turned off the plane's transponder. Communication stopped. The plane vanished. What followed was the largest and most expensive aviation search in history. Hundreds of millions of dollars, multiple countries, years of searching the Indian Ocean floor. A few small pieces of debris washed ashore on islands in the southern Indian Ocean, confirmed to be from MH370. But the main wreckage, the black boxes, and the 239 people on board have never been found. What we know, the plane made a deliberate turn. It flew for approximately 7 more hours after going dark. Someone was flying it. Whether that was a pilot, a passenger, or a hijacker, and what their motive was, is completely unknown. 239 people. Gone. And the world's aviation authorities, with all their technology, cannot tell you what happened to them.
The entire world searched and found almost nothing. Now imagine the unsolvable mystery isn't in the ocean. It's sitting in the courtyard of the CIA, in plain sight, for 35 years, and they still can't read it.
In 1990, artist Jim Sanborn installed a sculpture in the courtyard of CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. It's called Cryptos, and it contains 4 encrypted messages cut into a copper scroll. The CIA's own analysts couldn't crack it, so they opened it to the public. In 1998, a CIA analyst decoded the first 3 sections after years of work. Section 3 references the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. They're eerie, poetic, deliberately cryptic. But the 4th section, just 97 characters, has never been decoded. Not by the NSA, not by professional cryptographers, not by the global community of amateur codebreakers who have dedicated years of their lives to it. Sanborn has given 2 clues over the years. The words Berlin and clock appear in the plaintext. That's it. There is an unsolved code sitting in the courtyard of the most powerful intelligence agency in the world, and they cannot read it.
The most powerful intelligence agency on Earth, outsmarted by a sculptor. Now imagine someone outsmarted the entire internet, recruited the world's most brilliant minds through an insane puzzle trail, and to this day, nobody knows who they are or what they wanted.
On January 4th, 2012, a message appeared on the anonymous image board 4chan. Plain white text on a black background. It read, "Hello. We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few who will make it through. Good luck." It was signed 3301. What followed was one of the most elaborate, multi-layered puzzle hunts in internet history. The image contained a hidden message, readable only with specific steganography software. That message led to another clue, which led to a phone number, which led to a book cipher, which led to coordinates, real-world physical locations across the United States, Poland, France, South Korea, and Australia, where posters had been physically placed, each containing a QR code, each leading further into the puzzle.
The puzzles required knowledge of advanced cryptography, number theory, ancient Mayan numerology, classical literature, and cybersecurity. Whoever designed this wasn't dabbling.
This was engineered by someone or a group operating at an extraordinary level. A small number of people reportedly solved it. None of them have publicly revealed what they found at the end. The organization, if it is an organization, has never been identified. Theories range from elite intelligence agency recruitment to a secretive tech think tank to a privacy-focused political group. Cicada 3301 launched again in 2013 and again in 2014. Each time, the puzzles grew more complex. Each time, no one went public with what waited at the finish line. The last confirmed cicada message was posted in 2017, signed with a verified cryptographic key. After that, silence. Somewhere out there, a handful of people know exactly who Cicada 3301 is and what they wanted, and they're not telling.
A ghost organization that stayed completely invisible. Fascinating, but nobody got hurt. Now imagine the invisible force wasn't recruiting people, it was targeting them. Over 1,000 US government officials, permanent brain damage, and Washington still can't tell you who did it.
This is the one that kept me up at night, because this one is happening right now. In late 2016, American and Canadian diplomats stationed in Havana, Cuba, began reporting something terrifying, a sudden onset of a high-pitched sound, sometimes felt rather than heard, followed by excruciating headaches, vertigo, memory loss, and cognitive damage. Permanent brain injuries, confirmed by neurologists, with no external physical cause. Over the years, it spread. Vienna, China, Washington, D.C. The cases multiplied. More than 1,000 U.S. government personnel and their family members, including CIA officers, military attachés, and White House staff, have reported symptoms. Some have been medically discharged. Some have permanent neurological damage. The leading theory among American intelligence agencies? A directed energy weapon. Essentially a device that fires focused microwave or acoustic energy at a target, causing invisible internal damage. The technology exists. It has been researched, and several intelligence reports have pointed toward Russia as the potential source. But in 2023, U.S. intelligence agencies released a joint assessment saying they could not conclusively attribute the syndrome to a foreign adversary or confirm a single cause. Let that sink in. 1,000 American government officials have suffered unexplained brain injuries. The United States government, with every intelligence resource available to it, cannot tell you what caused it or who did it. That investigation is still open, right now, today.
10 mysteries, 10 stories that the most powerful institutions in the world, governments, intelligence agencies, scientists, cryptographers, could not close. And the truth is, some of these may never be solved. Some of them may have answers that are deliberately being kept from us. I'm Red. If you made it this far, you already know you're the kind of person who needs to know the truth. Subscribe, because there are plenty more rabbit holes where this came from.